Hello, and welcome everyone. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be joining us from. It's good to have you here for the Telerik Q2 2025 release webinar. The release has been out for about 10 days now, so go get the bits. Everything that Ed and me are going to talk about today is going to be Q2 2025. So however it is that you get our UI components and our tools, go get them, be it the NuGet packages or NPM packages, or maybe it's a control panel that you use, or simply the downloads section on our website. However you go get our bits, please go get them, and that's what gets you or lights up all the things. And everything we are doing with Telerik today stands on top of .NET, and this is very warm, welcoming framework now. Everything is open source, modular, low barrier to entry, and we have all the tools at our arsenal for both Windows, Mac, and Linux to go build amazing apps for just about every platform. So Microsoft slide here, but you're going to see us support you if you are on .NET Framework all the way back and bleeding edge with .NET 10 previews as well. So we are absolutely in the .NET ecosystem. And we care about your experience. We care about what we are building and how you are using those tools to be more productive. So please talk to us. We put a lot of love and care in our docs. So if there is any friction, please let us know. A lot of the demos that we are going to show you today, they're already live, especially the web ones on demos.telerik.com, and talk to us. So if you want something that's just not there in the product, our PMs and product managers would love to know. So that's at feedback.telerik.com. All right, so with that, we are going to roll into AI, right? Because again, it is the age of AI. We are seeing this transform a lot of businesses. And maybe again, it's your choice how much you want to jump into AI. But if you don't, your competition is going to start jumping on it. So it's good to look around and see how you can share the benefits of AI with your end users, as well as be more productive yourself as a developer. So let's talk about the productivity angle. How can we make you more productive? We have done some things in past releases where we have made smarter AI-infused UI components. So this is where your end users, as they're using your apps, get to see some of the benefits of AI that you can plug up to an AI model of your choice, and your applications are smarter. But we developers have a lot to gain when we look at AI to automate some of our workflows, streamline how we write code faster, better. So that's where things are. So if you look at kind of the evolution, we started with generative AI essentially in the last 5-6 years, and these are powered by enormous AI models, the GPTs and Geminis and Claudes of the world. These are very, very powerful systems that go out and learn, and then they respond to your prompts. And they generate text, they generate code, images, video, you name it. And this is very good for coding productivity as well, because it can generate a lot of good code. It can see what is out there in terms of documentation and open source, and it generates code. But it doesn't see everything, because not every type of code is out there. So we are also switching up to a different era of AI-assisted productivity with AI agents. And this is where, if you are open to giving up the reins just a little bit as a developer, you can see that AI agents have come a long way in trying to help you out. This is where it not just suggests code, but it can actually make broad sweeping code changes across your project. Think about the menial tasks like your dependencies, setting up projects, and streamlining your workflow. Let AI take a stab, because it's getting very, very good. Then you're the pilot. And again, one of the most commonly used tools is GitHub Copilot, especially if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem. You are absolutely the pilot, but GitHub Copilot is coming a long way trying to help you out. Now, like I said, there are certain edge cases that you need to know that some of the AI models knowledge might be a little time stamped, and there are ways to make it always go get the latest things. But this is something we called RAG, retrieval augmented generation. It can be a little bit difficult to scale in the back end. So there are some other solutions that are coming up. And also, as AI agents get more powerful, you want them to be a little bit more autonomous in how it takes computational tasks and how it performs actions like check in some code or send an email. It doesn't have any context of how to do that unless people who make those tools, like the Outlooks and the GitHubs of the world, make tools available for AI. So this is where we are seeing broad adoption of what's called MCP, Model Context Protocol. It's a universal standard that lets AI models and AI agents talk to each other. And you can expose context and essentially specialized tools through MCP to these AI agents. So AI agents, do not only have access to the models that you are using, but a whole bunch of MCP servers and tools at their disposal, so they can be that much more productive in, performing the tasks. So why are we saying all of this? Is because we want to actually chime in and do something here. So what we want to bring to the table is context, right? So we know our UI the best, be it Telerik or Kenda UI. We are the ones who wrote up the UI. We are the ones who wrote the documentation, the APIs. We have forums. We have lots and lots of sample code. And while AI models are getting good, sometimes you see the hallucinations, because when AI just doesn't know something, it makes up stuff. So we don't want that. We want to minimize that as much as possible. And if you're open to using agentic workflows, we want to, again, bring that same context. So with that in mind, say hello to Telerik and Kenda UI AI coding assistants. We are, we scrambled on this very quickly in the last few months. We are very proud to bring this to you this release. And we are starting with two of our beloved web frameworks, Blazor and React. Why? For no good reason. We just had to start somewhere, right? So you can see us expanding this to almost all of our product suites, but we are starting with Blazor and React. So the AI coding assistance that we have is surfaced up to you. So essentially it's the same UI, same things that you are used to, but it's good to be lazy. It's good to not switch context as a developer. Stay in the ID that you are using. Stay in whatever mode in which you're writing code. We will just bring the context up to you. So for both of them, if you're using GitHub Copilot, and GitHub Copilot works in a lot of IDs, Visual Studio on Windows, VS Code across Windows, Mac, and Linux, or any other type of ID that you can think of, Cursor, Claude, even Xcode, we work everywhere GitHub Copilot works. So we have a brand new extension for both Blazor and React. And if you're using something other than Copilot, or if you're using AI agents, then we want to also surface up the same context with MCP server and tools. So we have two brand new MCP servers that give you all of that context. So think about having an expert who knows Telerik UI and Kenda UI sitting right next to you. So you can ask questions, you can have them do tasks, take a first stab at the tasks, and then you get to see the code that's being generated, and you have the final say. So that's our pitch. So let's take a look at this in action, shall we? Let's start with GitHub Copilots. This is all powered with a simple GitHub app. So you get the same experience everywhere, Visual Studio, VS Code, Code Spaces, and all of that is hosted in the cloud essentially. So there's an app up there. So you need to be logged into GitHub using the same account that you're going to use in VS Code or Visual Studio. That's how it lights up. We will eventually also have it in the GitHub extensions marketplace, Copilot extensions marketplace. So, just like you have Docker or Perplexity or Sentry, you will also have Telerik and Kenda UI. So let's see this in action. I'm going to pull up VS Code here. I'm sure Ed's going to show you things on Visual Studio on Windows, but this is VS Code, same experience pretty much everywhere. So if I go into here and say, give me GitHub Copilot chat, this is the interface that you are welcomed with. Notice that it has a few modes now. So let's start with ask. So this is a mode in which you are essentially asking a question. Again, you have an expert who's sitting out there and you're just asking questions. Here, you also get to choose the model, the AI model that's going to power your experience. And again, models differ, so choose the one that works the best for you. Once you have installed those GitHub apps, I can do an add, and then you're going to see this thing called Telerik Blazor. And it says, hey, I'm a good GitHub Copilot extension, and I know things about Telerik UI for Blazor. Surprise. So I can ask away anything. So let's just start with show me code for Telerik Blazor grid with sorting, something very simple, right? And again, this is something, Copilot will also get you an answer, but once you get down into the depths, you can give it the context of your working file. And then you see like, Ed likes to say it's got this 80-20 rule. AI, it's easy to get 80% things right. It's really difficult for that last 20% to get things absolutely right. Again, powered by our docs, powered by our APIs. So again, you get a lot of code that's generated, and you can copy things over to the projects or files that you're working on. It also comes with a little bit of an explanation of what those properties are. So it's kind of nice. And again, the more context you give it, the better it acts. So I can also, like a lot of .NET shops also do React or Angular in the front end. So here's the same thing, can do React, and I can say, show me code for, let's just say, Kendo React Calendar UI, right? So again, behind the scenes, what we're doing is we have our own set of layers that you're going through. So we have tokenizers that's going to break up the prompt and try to understand what exactly you meant. And then we have big vector databases behind the scenes. So we're going to do our best to try to match it up to exactly what you're trying to say and bring all of that context back to the AI models so they can generate code. So again, pretty on point. Again, the context is what we are bringing to the table. So you can expect high accuracy in terms of the code that's been generated. So this is, in a nutshell, the GitHub Copilot extensions, and you have them for both Blazor and React. So ask away anything. If you ask us something that has nothing to do with us, we'll still respond, but it's essentially Copilot responding to you at that point. So that's the experience with GitHub Copilot extension. And again, you have that for VS Code, Visual Studio, and others. Now, let me show you one more thing here. So let's open up a different project here. I'm going to maybe show you a Blazor app really quick. So this is how far things have come. Now, this is where I am switching to an agent mode. So let's just do Claude. I find the reasoning is a little bit better, but that might be my personal choice. So in this one, I essentially said .NET new, give me a new Blazor app, right? So it says, hey, I see that you are working in Blazor. So I essentially want to start from scratch with a new Blazor app, and I want to render our grid, and I want to do all of that without writing a single line of code. I want AI to do all of that, and then I will come in as the main pilot to fix up my code. So in here, in agent mode, this is the thing where you get to expose it to agents and tools that are built by other people in the ecosystem. So your agents have more context of what they're doing. So this is now exposed up through what's called an NPM. Again, if you're in the JavaScript world, you're very used to this, but we have two NPM servers that bring in the context of the Telerik Blazor assistant and a Kendo React assistant. And if I hover over this, like, it kind of tells you what it is doing. Let me do that again. And maybe I'll show you once it shows up here. So once I do this, let's minimize this a little bit. I'm going to show you some user settings here. Let's go into MCP. So this is true of Visual Studio as well as VS Code. So you want to make sure that MCP discovery of tools is set to true. And here is one that I use locally. And then here is our Telerik Blazor assistant. Here's our Kendo React assistant. Essentially, it's just standard inputs and outputs, and you need a Telerik license that it needs to read. That's it. That one-time thing is all you need, and then you have those tools available to you. So once I have that, I can come back here to Copilot chat, and if I do a hash Telerik Blazor assistant, I'm not asking anything. I'm just pinging it. It says, hey, yeah, I'm here. I'm here to assist your AI agent, and I know all about Telerik UI for Blazor. So if you ask any questions that include Telerik or WAC Telerik or Ask Telerik, the agent always has access to this expert to talk to give you the right answer. And again, you don't have to depend on the agent. You can always invoke this MCP tool anytime you want. So in this chat, you can see, like, I started from the absolute scratch. And then I essentially said, let's go ahead and add, I have a brand new Blazor project. Let's add Telerik UI for Blazor. I'm not going to sit here and do all of this because it takes a second to spin up and make the code changes. But you can see there, I know how to bring in our Blazor dependencies, but I would rather just have AI do it for me because it's it's boilerplate. It's all in our docs. So I'm just saying, bring in Telerik UI for Blazor. Make sure you use that MCP tool. And here is it running the tool and says, oh, I need to add a .NET add package to this. And it makes code changes in my app.razor, main layout.razor, all the things that it needs. And then I can go ahead and say, let's create a new page, a Blazor page, drop in a Telerik grid, again, make sure you use that MCP tool. So it goes and finds some demo data, or drops it in my app and creates a grid all without me writing a single line of code, which is quite fabulous. Again, let's try to maybe show you this really quick. I don't want to take up too much time. This is a page that looks like the grid is in there. It's got a scheduler in there. It's got a calendar in there. Let's try one more here. And again, mileage may vary because we are doing this live. We are already in the grid demo, so let's just say, let's add, what's your beloved small little UI, Ed? How about a rating control? Rating control, let's make sure it's a Telerik one. To this page, and I'm going to say use Telerik Blazor Assistant, right? So what I'm asking it to do is now it's saying, hey, can I run this tool? And you can say, yes once throughout the workspace, then it always has the permission to run it. So again, the MCP tool here is going off and running it and bringing all of that context back of all of our docs, all of our APIs. So again, it knows much more about our stuff than Copilot or any other agent AI modes or models will. So again, it's doing it live, so it's thinking for a second. But again, all of this is essentially in the Copilot AI agent, or use any other agent. If you are in any other IDE or tool, it's going to work the same way. So you can see it's rapidly making code changes here. Let's see what it's doing. It's adding an update rating here. That's good. And somewhere up here, it may have added the actual rating control. There it is. There it is. Yeah. So with the template, and it's still going, and it's explaining what it exactly did and how that rating control works. And I can say keep. I'm good with it. Everything is working. And if it did everything right, and again, you always have to check. So I can say, let's run the app. Right? It's good to be lazy. I didn't have to switch context. I didn't have to go read the docs. I can just, type in my wishes in a prompt, and AI overlords just do it, except like I am the pilot. I'm the one running this. Sure. So .NET run. Let's see what it did. Because it's trying to compile, and now it says, yeah, I'm good to go. Here's localhost. I'm going to click on that. Here's my Hello World Blazor app with my counter weather. Here's the grid demo. And looks like I had the grid before, but it dropped in some rating controls right inside my grid here itself. I got a calendar here, and this is like a scheduler. So again, it's a starting point, right? We're not saying that you trust this blindly, but use AI as a starting point, because you're going to have to write less code. It has all the context of our docs and APIs, lots and lots of sample code, so you are that much more productive, right, with AI. Okay, so with that, let's dive into all things web with AI, and this is where you're going to see, or UI and AI. All things ASP.NET, Blazor, MVC, Razor, you name it. So Ed, take it away.
All right, Sam, thank you very much. And we have a lot of things to talk about. So you probably won't see me diving into Visual Studio too much. I've got a lot of bases to cover. We have to talk about all of the .NET Web ecosystem today. So we still have a lot of folks out there that love to build applications with Telerik UI for AJAX. It's one of those platforms that has been around for quite some time. It's super stable, very productive. So we've got a couple new components for you as well there. We'll talk about UI for MVC and ASP.NET Core, and also Blazor. And this slide here is important because I wanted to remind everybody that a lot of these things share some very common DNA. So it's okay to ask questions in chat about, is this feature or component available in my framework? Because there are crossovers in some of these, if not most of them. So Telerik UI for MVC, for example, and the MVC components for Telerik UI for .NET Core. All of these are basically going to be new releases for both of those platforms. And then, of course, anything that is built on .NET 10 or .NET 9 currently, .NET 10 preview support is here for those platforms as well. So Telerik UI for .NET Core and Blazor. And then across all of the modern development frameworks, we have our new Material 3 theme that just came out. And then document processing libraries cover bases in all of these front-end UI frameworks. So again, if you see something you like, let us know that you're looking for it on your given front-end platform. We may already have it, or at least give us a signal that you want us to add it to your favorite framework. Let's start out with the oldest, but the longest standing platform, that is Telerik UI for AJAX. We have a brand new badge component, and we also have the AI prompt. And this also is supported in your designer view inside of Visual Studio. We also have some updates that came to existing components as well, like the HTML chart with the no data template. And then I'll cover all of the document processing stuff at the end, but keep in mind that those improvements are available in your AJAX subscription as well. So let's take a quick jump out to the browser and check out the brand new AI chat component. So if you're using ASP.NET Core or Blazor, you may have seen a similar component for those platforms as well. We released the chat component almost a year ago for those platforms. And this is more and more popular. As you saw with Sam's demo, AI is just everywhere. So we have our WebForms AI prompt view component. And with this, you can type in your question to the AI and have it respond. This comes with all sorts of templates that you can set up prompts for your users, so they don't have to think through everything that they want to type into that chat box. You can set them up with suggestions. So in this example, I have like out of office messages to generate, LinkedIn posts, etc. I can just hit generate. It's going to give me a nice template that I can follow and paste into my given program that I'm using. And then, of course, you have full control over interacting with the inputs and outputs of that AI stream as well. You have full control over this with client-side APIs and server-side events. So you can completely customize this experience for your AJAX applications. Next up on our list, we have the brand new badge component. Badge component is nice for giving indicators to things like you see here in the buttons, where you can set aside labels to label things, give attention to them. This is a really simple way to tell users where things are important in your application and queue them up to click on things and interact, give call to actions, or just notify them that they have unread messages and things like that. So this is a really nice, handy piece of UI to have with AJAX. I'm a big fan of empty states. Empty states is a UX pattern for declaring that you have no data for something and presenting the user with some way to interact with the component, even though you don't have any data for it. And with our HTML charts in Telerik UI for AJAX, you have this ability when there's no data, you can specify a template. And that template is up to you to fill out. In some cases, you can add a button to maybe retry or load data, or just provide some sort of message that you need to go somewhere else in the application to add that data and connect it with the chart. So it's a good user experience feature to have. So you may take advantage of the no data templates in your applications. All right, that's everything I have for AJAX. We're going to move on to the MVC and core portion of what's new. So these are all the things that are new in both ASP.NET Core and the MVC front end pattern for .NET. So we have a new AI Smart Editor experience. So AI, have your AI bingo cards ready. We've got a lot of things coming in our components for AI. We have this fantastic chart wizard we'll dig into. We have a one-time or OTP password input component. And then there's tons and tons of improvements throughout all of the components. These are just some of the highlights. So if you want to see everything, make sure you visit visit telerik.com, select the product and click on what's new and scroll through all of the individual changes. There's a ton of stuff in there. So some of the things we'll highlight here is just the action sheet. Our PDF viewer is really loved by our customers, and we've added form filling to the PDF viewer. So that's a feature that you can take advantage of. Adaptive rendering is also something I'm a huge fan of. I like my applications to be mobile responsive and adaptive. So our adaptive features will let you use your applications on mobile devices much, much easier. We'll highlight some of that as well. And already mentioned our AI editors, so we'll dig into that too. And with our ASP.NET Core product and our Blazor library, it's important to highlight that we have support for the latest versions of the .NET Preview. I think we're up to what, Sam? Preview 4 or is it 5? Did 5 launch yet?
No,
Let me
we are
know if
still
you
on
remember.
4. Yep.
We're still on 4. 5 probably a week coming soon. So we're up to 4 and waiting for Microsoft to ship Preview 5. The Chart Wizard. This is a really cool component that you can add if you have a lot of data visualizations in your application. We'll deep dive into this in just a few minutes here, but you can use data binding, of course, but you can also do a lot of real-time tweaking of the visualization that is in your application at runtime. So this is nice for users that want to create their own charts. So you have your grid configuration window, your chart configuration window, your grid integration, and this is accessible with keyboard and screen readers and all of that good stuff as well. One-time password, if you've ever used any modern website and you've got two-factor authentication, this is one of those inputs where you're sending a user a one-time password, probably over SMS or maybe via email, and they've got to paste it back into your application to authenticate themselves. This is going to help you with that. So you've got easy paste from clipboard if you're on desktop or mobile, variety of sizes, borders, you make it look however you'd like. You could set up separators to make sure it matches the patterns that you're sending out with your one-time password patterns. And then, of course, it has adaptive rendering and accessibility, so all users can use it. Adaptive rendering is something you'll hear me mention a few times today. We have this available for Blazor as well. We'll dive in a little bit more in our Blazor demos. But what this lets you do is render your Telerik data grids with mobile responsiveness. So if you have something like an editor screen or grouping, paging, sorting, those type of things, you can make them more mobile friendly by flipping a switch and letting us help you render that on a mobile device. So you get nice UIs that let you touch, easier targets to hit, and this is awesome for mobile responsive web applications. So this is going to automatically adapt to mobile just by setting a flag on your grid, and we have mobile views for editing, grouping, filtering, and so on. And we'll deep dive into that in just a second. So let's take a look at what we have for ASP.NET Core and MVC. The PDF viewer form filling, if you have PDFs that you're displaying that have forms inside, you can handle all of that through the PDF viewer now with our form filling update. So if you're doing a lot of data entry over PDFs, this is a feature that is a must-have. AI integration with our editor. So we've always had a what you see is what you get editor, for Telerik UI for AJAX and ASP.NET Core. And in ASP.NET Core, we've integrated AI. So what this means is I can come into my HTML or WYSIWYG editor and I can highlight a section of that text and I can use AI to do tasks with it. So I can have AI explain this, reformat it, make it make into bullet points, and I can use AI right inside of that editor, and it's going to let me replace that text, and it's added some bullets in there. May not be quite formatted the way I wanted, but you can summarize and do all of those things as well. And if you don't want to use this inline pop-up, you can also slide this panel out and you can use AI in a side panel mode like this. So I can ask questions about my documents here and have it take action on the editor itself. So you can use it inline or you can use it as an assistant, kind of like your Copilot editor in Visual Studio. Adaptive tools and views for the Telerik UI grid. I mentioned these are perfect for mobile responsive. So if you take a look, I have some different options up here in the top. This is our adaptive tools. So I have a grouping option here. If I click it on the desktop, I'm going to get a nice drop down that lets me set up grouping on my data grid. So I just added grouping for this category here and you saw it take action. I can also add and remove columns here and apply that. But these menus or these actions are not very intuitive for somebody that is on a mobile device. So what we can do is if I take my screen here and I shrink it down a little bit, we should start picking up some of those adaptively rendered action or adaptive tools. So now when I click on group, you'll notice I get a nice full screen pop-up window here that lets me hit larger target sizes that I can tap on with my finger and adjust some of the grouping here. So let's just group these by product name. And now I have a big done button down at the bottom. I can click and apply that filtering or grouping. I have filters as well. So I can dig in with different filters and notice I get like a wizard style flyout menu that comes into play when I select different columns that I want to apply filters to. So this makes things so much easier for me to use as a mobile user on a small device. So the adaptive rendering mode will help you with that. Just make sure you set adaptive mode property on your data grid to auto, and this will enable these mobile adaptive renderings on your data grid. We'll talk a little bit more about this when we get into Blazor as well. We have our one-time input, one-time password input. And this is, again, something that's highly customizable. And I'm sure you've seen if you've ever logged into something like Amazon, you can just paste in your one-time password in there and it will fill out the form for you. And then, of course, highly customizable. So we can set different border radius. We can go with, let's do full here. We can make these complete circles, whatever you need to do to let this component match your design system that you're using in your application. As you know, we work a lot with design integration in all of our front-end libraries. So you have complete access to however you'd like to style these components, size, fill modes, outlines, all of that. It's easily integratable into forms. And again, we have keyboard navigation for accessibility. For folks that work in finance and other parts of the industry that have a lot of charts and data visualizations, this is going to be something that I can see your users loving. Back when I worked in finance with software, I was always being asked for all sorts of different charts. And now you can just implement the chart wizard and cover all your bases at once. So this lets your users choose their formatting and charts that they would like to see. It's very similar to what you might experience in an app like Excel, where you've got your data and you just want to go through and pick the right visualization for that data, whatever fits it best. So this component lets you do that. And then, of course, you can configure the axes and data and how that's represented in each chart, and directly export from here as well. So you can build out a visualization, export it, drop it into an email, send it to your boss. Great stuff here. Let's see, we can move on to Telerik UI for Blazor next. A lot of great things coming to Telerik UI for Blazor in this release. Sam mentioned we have our AI coding assistant, so you can integrate that into Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio. We also have a brand new component called the DockManager. We'll take a look at that in a moment. The floating action button and the AI Smart Editor, very similar to the one that you saw for ASP.NET Core. We have the adaptive grid rendering. I'll talk a little bit about Microsoft Extensions AI integration. And then we also have some improvements to our upload component. This is something that users asked for. We do a lot of uploading of large files these days, and putting those files into chunks or breaking them down into smaller pieces so they can be uploaded to the server is something that's pretty much a necessity these days. So we have that base covered now with chunk upload additions to the upload component. So I like to talk about the adaptive rendering in the Blazor space because with Blazor, it's not just about mobile responsive. Sam, you can back me up on this, but this is super useful for Blazor hybrid with .NET MAUI as well, right? So you can build your Blazor applications and move them over to .NET MAUI, and you can have applications that work natively on Android and display a data grid that is easy to use, easy to edit, and all of that right in your mobile device. So we'll talk a little bit more about adaptive rendering in just a minute. I mentioned Microsoft Extensions AI. This has kind of been coined as MIA. So you might hear either of those mentioned throughout the community and ecosystem of .NET, as well as the rest of this presentation. This is something that I think you're going to see us taking advantage of quite often with all of our .NET-based Telerik components, whether they're for the web, desktop, mobile, etc. But what Microsoft AI Extensions is a set of AI primitives for C#. So you could think of this as a base class library for .NET for working with AI. Why this is important is because this gives us a level playing field for adding AI capabilities to our components. And we do this through a common interface called the iChat client, which exposes some nice objects to us, like a chat response, which is generative AI responses from a large language model. And those can come in the form of chat messages as well. So we can send and receive data from these generative AI models easily using common .NET best practices. And this supports multiple large language models and different service providers. So you can use Azure OpenAI to run these models locally using Llama or DeepSeek. And this gives us some pretty cool features in our components, like the brand new automatic mode that we've enabled through the AI prompt component. So I've got a short video for you all, something that we announced at Build. Because Microsoft Extensions AI has given us the iChat client interface, and this is something that we can rely on in the .NET code base. We've enabled it on our Telerik AI prompt component out of the box. And what that means is you can start with a .NET Blazor or ASP.NET application and use the iChat client service in your project, and that will automatically light up the UI within our Telerik AI prompt component. All we have to do is first register our iChat client in the program CS file, which I already have here. Next, all I have to do is add the AI prompt to my application. So I'll say Telerik AI prompt. When I save this, my project will update and I can immediately start chatting with my AI assistant. I can say, what is Telerik UI for Blazor? Hit generate, and this will use the underlying iChat client to generate the text for me. This one's being backended by the OpenAI services in Azure. Now I can even extend this further by taking the AI prompt and doing a little bit of customization with it. I can set up some prompts that are predetermined to help guide the user. So when they're using the component, there are predetermined values for them to just click on and generate some text. So we'll go ahead and refresh the application. And you can see that I've got some prompt suggestions here. These are acting as a marketing role, and I can just click on one, hit generate, and I have my AI generated output. With just a few lines of code, you can have the generative AI solutions from large language models baked right into your Blazor and ASP.NET applications. If you'd like to learn more about how we're integrating our AI chatbot with other UI components, visit demos.telerik.com and look for the Blazor Labs tab on the left-hand side. That's how we're integrating with our components, though. You saw me add the Telerik AI prompt right to the Blazor page. And because we have dependency injection in Blazor and we have this, this iChat client interface that we can just rely on as common framework of using AI, generative AI inputs and outputs, we can just rely on that and automatically pick it up if it's there. If you add any customization to that AI prompt, you can easily override that behavior. But if you don't have anything else that you want to add there, it'll pick it right up. So one of the things that I think is really interesting for that type of mode is you can go into Azure AI Foundry. Sorry, they changed the name for it. It's taken me a minute to remember the current name. Azure AI Foundry. You can customize models in there, add guardrails, do custom training, or just provide like system prompts and publish and deploy a model that's pre-configured with everything that you want to do with it, and then just pop in that Telerik chat component on the page and take advantage of that deployed model in Azure. So there's not a lot of code in the application. It's all up in Azure. And this is just providing that chat interface for you through the iChat client. So I think that's a really interesting avenue that people can approach this Gen AI stuff from. So good stuff there. We've got our DockManager is a new component, and we'll tie some AI in here as well. So with the DockManager, you can pin, unpin, resize. This is just like your Visual Studio interface, right? You've got panels and widgets that you can snap in different locations in your application like you would on the desktop. We also have a floating action button. This is quick access to a primary input or action for your application. And you can align this, position it in any corner, top, bottom, etc. And then you can theme and use keyboard navigation for accessibility as well. And then I also want to talk about Material 3. So again, a lot of these things stretch across multiple products here. So we're talking Kendo UI, Telerik UI for ASP.NET MVC, Core, and also Blazor. But I thought I'd mention it here in our last part with Blazor. So we've got our material theme, Material 3 theme. This is the latest from Google's design system. It's a design system built around vibrant colors and contrasting shapes, and you can use it in your applications today. I also wanted to mention, if you're currently using the Material 2 design system or swatch, we still have a Material 2 swatch available. So if you don't want an abrupt change to your users, if you're already using Material 2 and switch over to Material 3, it's going to look completely different. You can always select that Material 2 swatch from the Material main theme. So keep that in mind. So let's talk a little bit about some of these Blazor demos. See a little bit of this in action. This is the AI prompt component. We released this a little while ago, but it has been updated with that MIA integration that I was talking about. So make sure you check it out. And you can also see, we'll dive into this a little bit more in a moment, but this is one of those floating action buttons and just one of the various things that you can do with a floating action button. AI integration continues with the editor. So we saw this editor in ASP.NET Core, but I wanted to mention it here in Blazor as well, not only to tell you that it is available for Blazor, but to highlight another component that we have. So you saw previously, I selected this, asked it to do some sort of behavior with it, and I can also come out to the side panel here and do those same sorts of actions from this Copilot-like experience that we have. But notice we also have this sliding interface here, this pop-out that we can collapse and expand. This is actually taking advantage of another new component that we have, and that is our Blazor DockManager. So our Blazor DockManager lets you build those type of experiences. Whether you want to add that AI Copilot type experience to your application, you can grab the AI prompt component, mix it with a DockManager component, and add that to your application. And what that's going to give you is the ability to pin and unpin these type of things, move them up and down. Anybody that's used Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code knows what this is all about. You can fly these items out, resize and expand that window. So again, think of your Copilot being here, other actions that you want to take on your application, or just something like the presentation here where we have some charts and other things integrated all into one view. This gives you that desktop-like experience. You can break down really complex user interfaces with this and make them nice for your users. Let's talk a little bit about the adaptive rendering modes for the grid component. I showed a little bit of this with ASP.NET Core. We also have this available for Blazor. In this one, I'm going to show a little bit of the editing experience, but again, that applies to Core as well. What doesn't apply to ASP.NET Core is, think of this if you're using .NET MAUI with a Blazor hybrid app. Like, this is where this really, really shines. So in this application, we've got our Telerik grid here. I can open up my grouping panel. You saw that earlier. I can click edit. I may have an issue here. We'll go grab a different demo if that's the case, or just skip past this. Let me try running this again. Oh, I know what it is. I didn't pick, there we go. I didn't pick an item to edit. I got a little coding error on that one. So we've got our pop-up editor here. So if we wanted to see what this would look like on mobile, I'm going to quickly jump into my developer tools. So we'll do a little right click here, and where did my dev tools go? I'll just do F11, or F12, sorry. I am a developer, I promise. Open in DevTools. And then I'm going to choose to, let's toggle device emulation. Let's hit preview again. And this is emulating a Pixel 7 device. And now you can see my cursor has changed to more of a touch input. So this is kind of a fingerprint here. So I can page through these items. Notice my pager has changed. My pager is smaller now, and I can type in a page here, or I can tap on the page numbers, but I don't have a long list that would extend outside the bounds of the view here. Instead, it's been condensed down to something more simple. I can also tap on group here and I get a nice full screen display for grouping. And then I'm going to scroll over and click on edit. And when I click on edit, I get a nice editor that fills the page. So I can tap on individual items here and pick a date for my calendar and update the item. And that's going to drop away. So that gives me a much nicer experience if I'm on mobile and I need to sort, I need to filter. It's done through these nice fly-out action menus instead of relying on little drop-downs that would be hard to navigate and click with my finger. So this is huge if you're doing any type of Blazor with mobile or with MAUI. The data grid also got some new features in regards to exporting. We now have the easy export to PDF. So if you want a PDF document out of your data grid, you can simply add the export to PDF functionality there through the toolbar. I also want to point out that I am using the brand new Material 3 theme in here. So see that we've got some nice looking buttons. The grid really looks good in this new Material 3 theme. Highly recommend jumping over to demos.telerik.com and just hitting the Material theme and checking out some of the components and how they look with this new theme on them. Other components that got updates, the multi-select component got templates. So you can see we've got some images and other formatting applied to our multi-select. Our chunk upload gives me a nice API for updating or uploading images that are large, and you need to break them up into chunks and reassemble them on the server. And then our floating action button, this is an interesting one. It's something that's been around for quite some time in our other frameworks, and didn't really see it used in the software ecosystem as a whole for a while, and then it's kind of gotten this resurgence lately. And one of the places you see this a lot is in AI applications like OpenAI. So this is gonna, if you have users that are using OpenAI and they really like this experience, you can bring it to your application. And this gives you that action button that you can bring up almost like a mini menu and have really quick access to very popular things that you need to do in your application. And you can, of course, make this context aware, use templates and all of that sort of thing within the floating action button. So you have your primary action button, and then you have a pop-up that is displayed along with that floating action button, and you could put all sorts of things in here to make them easily accessible for your users. And then, of course, you can control where it is rendered on the page as well. So you can have this as a top down, put it in the upper left-hand corner, drop it down, type of little menu, super handy. I showed you a lot of these Telerik UI for Blazor demos using the new Material 3 theme. And I think it's important to transition over to ThemeBuilder to talk a little bit more about this. So ThemeBuilder is our tool for theming all of your Telerik UI components, and it also offers a lot of integration with design systems and designers and their tools as well. So you can think of this as a tool that you can use as a developer to quickly edit themes or just match some colors with your branding, but you can also think of it as a tool that extends your design team because it integrates with Figma. It's a bridge between them and you to get your branding, your design system, and all of that incorporated into your applications. So I love the fact that it has these different levels of expertise that can be used within the tool, depending on what your needs are, what your team size is, and what that team composition is. So this is the brand new Material 3 theme just being applied to the Telerik components. And you can see at large scale here what all of those components look like. It's a great place to just see everything all at once and maybe edit and tweak some of the colors and things for these components. So you can see the date pickers, the calendars, all of those look really great with this new Material 3 theme. The buttons, all of that look fantastic as well. So we can scroll through. We've got data visualizations, progress bars, all of this in a one-stop shopping area where we can view everything. So over to Figma real quick while that loads up. On my Figma screen here, I've got a sign-in panel. This is just HTML, or well, it's just Figma at this point. This would, in my application, just be represented by a piece of HTML, and then I'm going to have some components inside of that for inputs and my button, etc. And what I can do is, you'll see I have a plugin here, the Progress Theme Builder plugin, and I can do various things with Theme Builder inside of Figma. One of those things is I can import components into my Theme Builder application from Figma. So through this, I'll select, this takes a few seconds, so may not be able to do this on the live stream, but we will select our project. We'll select the element in Figma, which is going to be this sign-in panel, and then we'll import that into Theme Builder. And you can see I've already done that process here. And this imported that HTML into Theme Builder for me, so I can continue to tweak things in the style sheets that might be required to make this work in my application. And I can also export, if you see export all up here, I can export my HTML to raw HTML that can then be brought into my application. With Blazor, you could take this and just say .razor on it and then start adding your components to it. And it makes a nice transition into writing the code in your application. And it'll have all the classes and everything applied to it. You can even see some of this in our, let's see if I can find the button here. There we go. You can even see this in the edit HTML mode. So I've got my divs here and they all have the classes applied to make them look and feel like they do in the Figma project. So I can continue to edit there. I can even copy and paste out of this into my IDE of choice. And then with this, we also have our building blocks and component templates that are available as part of an upgrade to the component libraries. You can import those directly into Theme Builder as well and continue to theme those and make them part of your Theme Builder experience. So here is one of the building blocks for a feedback form. I just dropped it right into my my Theme Builder here, so I can tweak this as I need to, and then export that as HTML out to my application and develop on it in my editor. So that is the tight integration that we have between Theme Builder and Figma. This is something that is worth showing to your designers on your design team and get that nice transition point between devs and developers with Theme Builder. All right, Sam, that is all I have for now. I'm going to pass it back off to you. Oh, wait, I forgot one thing. I did forget one thing. My mistake. I have to talk about document processing real quick. Usually you take that and run with it, but you've got a lot of things to cover still. So I'm going to cover document processing really quick for you. And with document processing, you can believe we added AI as well. So under the PDF section of the document processing, what's new, you'll find that we have added support for querying and summarizing PDF documents using AI. This is actually really cool. Another AI thing is OCR, object character recognition, that has been added as well. Some non-AI things, you can do multiple digital signatures, marked content, and launch actions from PDF. So PDFs have that interactivity. They're able to launch browsers and other things. You can now do that through document processing. So really quick, we're going to jump over to Visual Studio. I've got this nice demo that Anna from our DPL team gave me, and this is going to show off some of those new APIs that we have. Let's talk about those APIs real quick. Do I have? There we go. There's my page. You can find them in document our docs for the DPL under libraries, PDF, and then you're going to go under features. There's this new Gen AI powered documentation and insights. There's a lot of good stuff in here. The main meat and potatoes for this is going to be these three APIs here. Summarization processor. This generates a summarization of PDF documents. There is the complete context question processor. So you can ask the AI questions about a PDF. There is also the partial context question processor. This is going to answer questions on a large document. So this is kind of like a mini RAG solution. It's going to break the document down into pieces using an encoder or an embedder, and then you can search or ask questions on a large document by not filling up your entire AI context with the entire document itself, but rather going through it in chunks and finding relevant pieces and bringing back those pieces. So in this quick demo I've got here, we're going to set up this new set of APIs. The first thing we're going to do is create a chat client. Now, this is that iChat client interface I talked about earlier, the same one we're integrating into our AI prompt component. You're going to set this up. You're going to point it towards your AI resources, whether they're in Azure, OpenAI, or your service of choice, even local. And then once we have that, we can call these methods. And these are nice little like wrappers that I've got here. So I've got a summarize method I'm going to call ask question and ask question with or partial context question. Now, one thing I want to show in this is if I dive into these wrappers, there is the ability to change your prompt, but there's also this summary resources calculated. And what this is a delegate that you can create. And what it is it's going to take into account the amount of tokens that this will spend to perform the operation. And then you can optionally cancel that operation. So what you don't want to do is get some gigantic PDF and try to load that into your AI services and then blow away all of your tokens and then get a huge Azure bill at the end of the month, right, Sam? So this never happened to any of us. So what you can do is you can take advantage of this and it will give you an estimate of what the token cost is going to be and then give you a summary of that, which you can then either respond with some feedback to the user or cancel the request directly from that that method inside of your code. So that's what we're doing here. And then we have the partial context question. Now, this one's using an internal embedder. You can also swap out your own. You can embed locally. You can choose your embedding service of choice. And you would also need a a storage solution for that. So you can store the chunks of the document in a database or in memory, etc. All of these things are really open to whatever part of the ecosystem you want to use. So with the partial context question processor, you get to use things like LangChain, or services in Azure, or whatever it is you'd like to use to break up those documents and do the embeddings on them. So we'll run this really quick, and it's going to ingest the PDF, and it will walk through. And do I have a breakpoint on this, or did it show up in another? Oh, it showed up in another window. There we go. So this is that delegate telling me that the summary will require one call and use 533 tokens, which does not expend my token limit. If it went past the limit, I would cancel it or alert the user that it needs to be a different size document. So this is summarizing the PDF document. I can ask how many pages are in the document. It's going to give me an accurate response of how many pages was in the document, what was it about, and then of course the partial question is going to come back with that. Again, it's like a RAG type of a solution, so it's going to chunk that document up and find just the piece of it that corresponded to my question and bring it back. So that is the new AI features in the document processing library. And there are so many ways I can think of using this in a real world scenario. We could go on all day. So make sure you check that out. Go over to the document processing libraries up on telerik.com. See all the other highlights of what's new. There's other things that were updated as well. We just don't have time to cover everything. And I thought the AI portion of that was just really cool and had to be shared. So with that, Sam, over to you.
Indeed, indeed. Good stuff. Good stuff. So there's a lot of questions, and it's all understandable. So folks, we just covered all the web stuff, right? You heard Ed talk about everything ASP.NET from, AJAX to Blazor. And there are lots of questions about AI, which is all understandable. To me, what stood out, Ed, is a couple of things. First is the DockManager. A lot of folks I know are in the process of perhaps migrating an older desktop application to a modern Blazor application. Those docs are really handy. And I love the adaptive and the responsive rendering because I can take the same Blazor UI and just put it in a .NET MAUI app. I can even take some Angular or React UI, put it in a MAUI app, and then it becomes a native app, but with web UI. So it's a great story.
Yeah, the DockManager can be a really great story for Blazor Hybrid as well, because I talk about the adaptive side of it where you're deploying to mobile devices, but let's not forget that MAUI does desktop really well, makes that seamless desktop experience. You mentioned if you're transitioning a traditional desktop application over to Blazor, then MAUI is a really great avenue for that as well. And then the DockManager just makes it super like desktop-like. So you don't have to take advantage of the mobile side of things if that's not something that's in your scope of work. But if you're taking a desktop app and updating it to something more modern that is also a desktop app, then that DockManager is perfect for that too.
Yeah. I'm still on the website of things. So here is ThemeBuilder that Ed talked about. What is nice is it works for all things Blazor and jQuery and Angular and React and Vue, because what it's generating is just styles like Sass or CSS. And we show you all of our UI, so I can go into every type of UI that we can generate. But the styles also apply to generic HTML containers and other elements, right? So which is a really nice way for you to style your apps. And it's not just the perfunctory styles that you see on the surface. You can go into like an advanced mode where I can click on any particular type of UI and I can customize everything about it. So every property that you can think of, visual states, margins, padding, everything can be very, very customizable. So I really like ThemeBuilder because I'm not a web developer, but I can do my stuff here and I can bring it to my native mobile and desktop. So all of this AI stuff, and there are some questions about AI. Keep in mind, like, so I did a .NET purple here, so everything become purple. I love showing like the Barbie theme as well. Everything becomes pink. So again, the point is like this is a way for you to style your apps based on a prompt, text-based prompt, and export it out, fine tune it, customize it, and so on. So on all of the AI front, let's just keep in mind that our core parts of what we do is UI. That's well engineered, and we stand by you with docs and support. We are just surfacing it through different ways. And so if you are sensitive to using AI, you don't have to. But if you are open, if you're open to it, then you'll start seeing the productivity benefits. There were a lot of questions about how to use this stuff. So let me spend a minute talking about this here for a second. So I'm right now in Visual Studio Code, which works the same way in Windows, Mac, or Linux. And if I go into my extensions, for what I showed you, like the GitHub Copilot extension, you need to have these two extensions installed. In Visual Studio and Windows, I believe those are built in, so you don't need to install anything. And GitHub Copilot has a pretty generous freemium model, so you can use our extension with that freemium model. If you start seeing that you're using it a lot and then you're starting to hit towards GitHub Copilot's limits, then perhaps the paid plan is what's called for. The MCP tools will work independent of any Copilot. So I can pull up something like Cursor, and this is completely separate, but in here I can also go in here and look for and drop in an mcp.json file. And you can see the same settings that I have for VS Code or Visual Studio. The same exact settings bring in my MCP tools here in Cursor or any other ID that you might be using as well. So it is pretty agnostic. And going back to Visual Studio Code here, the other question was like, how do I see these extensions working? Is it one app? It can work for one workspace, but it can also work for your account all throughout. So if I go back up to the app here, so again, please make sure you're signed in into GitHub using the same account that you're using in Visual Studio. So once you look at the app, and then if I go into configuring it, so I can open it up just for myself for personal use, or a lot of organizations do this. You have a GitHub organizational account that applies to every developer in your company. So you can do that at the org level as well. So everybody has the same access rights. Hopefully that clears up a little bit. Again, you are not for. Sorry, go ahead, Ed.
I did see some questions around like privacy of what's being passed like to the server and stuff, and we use Azure for what we're doing, I believe, right, Sam? And
yeah. So
those policies in Azure don't share your data for retraining or anything like that. But go ahead.
Right. So there are nuances to this, right? It's AI. So if you have concerns about your IP being shared outside of your premises, like what we are doing is something that rides on top of GitHub Copilot here in this case. GitHub Copilot will, if you allow it, it will have context of your entire code base. It's going to start, working through your code base, but the knowledge comes from outside, the cloud and the internet and so on, and so does ours. If you have concerns, there are settings in GitHub Copilot where you can go in and say turn off. So which means none of your code ever leaves your premises, ever leaves your machine. So you have some safety nets built in if you are in government agencies or military. If you turn off Copilot or our stuff from using anything internet whatsoever, it's not going to be very good because like the value of it is bringing in outside knowledge. And for our tools, like it is bringing in the deeper context from our docs and APIs. But from your standpoint, you can turn off everything so that it never leaves your premises. And again, all of this is optional for you to use. So the GitHub Copilot extension, you do have to install explicitly to use it. If you don't want to use it, that's totally fine. You have all the docs and all of our support to stand by you. So again, privacy concerns, we hear you, but that's kind of the state of the industry where things are headed with AI. do what is right for you, essentially, right?
Yeah, and on Microsoft's website under Azure OpenAI services, they are very explicit about what's happening there, and it says on there your prompts, inputs, and completions, embeddings, your training data are not available to other customers, not available to OpenAI, not used to improve AI models, not used to retrain, and etc. Like it keeps going on and on how they, they're not sharing this information. This is all inside of Azure for your instance.
Yep. Okay, so we talked a lot about web. I got half an hour left here, Ed, so I'm going to switch gears. Let's talk about other things that enable your enterprise workflows to function, because you need native apps, you need mobile apps, and you need desktop apps. So how are we going about building those? .NET MAUI is the solution that Microsoft would like you to use, and we are very big fans of it. This is multi-platform app UI, works for all things iOS, Android, as well as desktop is added on as well. So WinUI to get to Windows, and Mac Catalyst to get to Mac OS. Things started with .NET 6 with .NET MAUI, and it's evolved for 4 years over to .NET 10 preview days. Things have come a long way. The tooling is really stable, platform performance, everything is looking up, looking good. So we have been on this journey with Microsoft from the very get-go. We have a very beautiful suite called Telerik UI for .NET MAUI. It's everything that you envision it to be. It's polished UI, works seamlessly across Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. We are always looking ahead, bleeding edge with the latest workloads, latest runtimes. If you are migrating from Xamarin over to .NET MAUI, because .NET MAUI is essentially the evolution of .NET that is cross-platform. We have lots of customers who are building native desktop apps on Macs with .NET MAUI. So that's the draw. It works on desktop and mobile. Again, rich tooling, no matter where you use it, Visual Studio or VS Code, we got you covered for that. Let's talk about some of the new things that we did. So this, you saw a little preview of this last time around, but we did theming, which is something kind of in-baked a little bit into .NET MAUI, but it takes a lot of effort to do it across your entire app suite. So if you're using anything Telerik UI for .NET MAUI, we want to make sure that we give you a mechanism to have a consistent brand presence all throughout your app, be it desktop or mobile. And you get to customize things. You can start from some default system design systems. We give you a couple of different predefined themes, like the platform themes, where your app looks very much like iOS or Android on each platform, or you can start with the Telerik theme, but then you can customize it. So you get built-in light mode, dark mode, and it applies all throughout your app as well, not just our UI. Lots of color palettes to choose from, what's not to like, easy styling and consistent styling. So you have a nice branding all throughout your app. This one is something we are super proud of. There's a brand new tree data grid UI, and it's very, very complex because this is catering to those enterprise needs. A lot of you have very complex nested data, and sure, you want that tabular representation that a grid brings you, but it's also nested, so you want that hierarchical navigation and the sifting through huge amounts of data. So that's what this is for. So envision like a tree view and a data grid kind of merged together. So that's what the tree data grid UI is. So bring your complex nested data, solid performance, virtualize, very easy APIs to add, remove, or manipulate items, expand and collapse is built in, infinite nesting. So lots of templates to style your UI just the way you want it for every row and every column that you're rendering. So, and actually we have enterprise customers who are using this in our desktop from the get-go, from the very day we started building this. So you have some confidence going into this as well. The collection view, this is something we had a list view, we still do, but this is kind of the next generation of it. It is very much evolved, works seamlessly between mobile and desktop. So there are some really nice highlights into this. Again, like think about performance for collection views, because this is super important. Most mobile apps end up being collection of things, and bind a million records to this if you want. It'll still scroll smoothly. That's the draw. So we have some interesting new features in here. There's a sticky group header, which is particularly nice on mobile as you are scrolling through, so you don't lose context as the user. On desktop, so mobile is all touch, while desktop brings in keyboard and mouse, different sets of demands and needs. So we have full keyboard support for collection view. Everything that you can do with your thumb, you can also do with your keyboard. So all types of shortcuts, and it's also good for accessibility and usability. We are also conscious of inclusiveness, and screen reader support is built in. So again, however it is that your assistive technologies are coming in, some of it is built into the native platforms like iOS, Android. So we are riding on it to make sure your screen readers can read everything that you're rendering in the collection view. Data grid, this is always important. It's probably the reason why you start with some of the Telerik or Kenda UI suites. We have aggregates, which is kind of summarizing things based on how many rows you're displaying. We did some work around the alignments, so even with filtering and grouping, the alignment is on point. And it's a wonderful way to show a huge amount of data, but making sure that group data is nicely formatted and you have that visual consistency that you're looking for. A lot of you also like to have flexibility in how you render each row. Maybe you want like alternating colors, maybe things that are validated are green and then things that are not are red. So you need to highlight, you need to differentiate. So we hear that. So there is a row background style selector now, so you can have complete control over exactly. So it's like conditional style formatting for all of your rows in the data grid. So good things coming in there. We have lots and lots of samples for you to look at, be inspired. Some of them, are fully baked with MVVM design patterns. Some of them we just roll on our own. So if you need inspiration of how do I create an app that looks one way on desktop, one way on mobile, we have lots of apps for you to check out in the app stores, as well as out on GitHub as repositories, so you can look through the code and get some inspiration. Okay, so kind of piggybacking off what Ed said, .NET MAUI is for when you want depth and you want that platform reach, all types of APIs, while Microsoft's stand is if you want, breadth and reach, then go with Blazor. But, for a lot of you, the answer might be somewhere in between because you want to reuse your web UI, but you want that depth. You want all of the platform APIs and your performance and so on. That's where the Blazor hybrid solutions are very, very lucrative. So this is Blazor working with .NET MAUI, but MAUI also, the web views are agnostic. So it doesn't care what it is that you're rendering web-wise. So Angular, React View, all of those are good as well. A quick look at how this is done. It's a Blazor web view. So it's a nice abstracted web view that renders all web UI, but you're running on the metal for iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac. So what's not to like? This is a template, and you can actually do this with our UI very, very nicely. You can have a shared repository or RCL Razor class library, and the same UI is driving experiences on web and native. And this is where what Ed was saying, the adaptive rendering is so much important because you can have a grid, you can have a drop down that renders for mouse and keyboard on desktop or web, but then switches to touch when you're on your phones. So Blazor MAUI hybrid story, everything we do with Telerik UI for Blazor, everything that Ed shows, all works on .NET MAUI on mobile and desktop, which is something we are proud to say. We'll stand by you, we'll support you. If you want to be adventurous and want to bring in Angular and React, that works as well. So great story on code reuse design system. We talked about ThemeBuilder. This is your way of bridging that developer designer gap. Start with Figma if you have designers. Figma has some design surfaces which bring in AI. Design your things in Figma and then bring it over to ThemeBuilder. You have more of AI to customize things. And then once you're happy with all of it, export it out. And works on web and native mobile as well. Feature-rich theming, you heard Ed talk about this, but the page templates and building blocks, those are super sweet because it's a nice starting point. Like if I'm building a credit card entry screen or login screen, I don't have to start from the basics. I can start from one of the building blocks, and it packages up a couple of UI components all together. Again, works on web and native apps. So I'm a big fan of this because web and native can share so much code now. The same styles, the same UI components, and everything just works. Debugging story is nice as well. So all good things happening. And again, if you're using anything from us with Blazor, Angular, React, it all works with .NET MAUI apps. Okay, so let's take a look, right? Seeing is believing. I'm going to quickly switch over here to VS Code. Let's close out some things here. And this is an installation. I'm doing kind of what many of you will do. I have Telerik UI for MAUI installed. So I have it here. You can see like I have just the two latest ones here, 11. I'm going into examples here. The crypto tracker, the SDK browser, they're all right there once you install. So let's go into the control sample. And this is a big app. This is actually what's in the stores. And so you can, you don't have to trust anything that I say. You can go check it out with your iOS, Android, Windows, or Mac stores. So let's go ahead and run this. It's analyzing. And this one is running on .NET 10. And let's see, where's my endpoint? Let's start with the Mac first. So you can see all my iOS and Android simulators here. Let's start with the Mac, and I am going to go ahead and run this really quick. So it's doing a build here for .NET, .NET 10 iOS and .NET 10 Mac Catalyst, and eventually you're going to see a desktop app that's Mac written with .NET MAUI. Again, like people are building straight up desktop apps with .NET MAUI. That's the evolution of the cross-platform story. So your investments in .NET, if you have done anything with .NET in the in the past, like if you are starting a greenfield app, this is a good place to start because it just works cross-platform, works everywhere. So you get a full-fledged desktop app, right? And it works with mouse and keyboard exactly the way you hope. So in here, let me and things are nicely marked here. Things that are with the orange badge are updated. Let me try finding the absolutely new stuff here. This is the tree data grid. And you'll notice that this has, quite a bit of complexity to it. This is like, asset management for your apps, maybe. So things are collapsible and expandable from the get-go. So think about a grid. You still have your sorting, filtering, all of that, but it is very much a nested data, and it is nicely, rendered with a tree view and a grid together. While I'm at it, this is true for every one of our apps, but you can see this is the theming. Now this is built in. So we have a couple of platform styles like light or dark, or you can do a Telerik one. And again, this is just a starting point. You get to see the styles, the XAML styles in this case, and then you can customize things to your heart's content. All right, so let's switch out. Oh, it's still trying to switch up my theme. We'll give it a second. There you go. This one's just a Telerik theme, so it doesn't look all that different. But let's go back here. And let's look at some of the other things that we talked about were brand new and lots of updates. So let's go into the grid here for a second. There are nice things in here for desktop, but also nice things for mobile as well. So here's the aggregate support that I was talking about. So this is talking about products, looks like, and flights and so on. And things are already grouped by shipping country. And if I, filter things down further, let's just look at Argentina and filter it. So everything is very nicely grouped within that, grouped header. So again, you're scrolling, you're filtering, everything works nicely with the aggregate functions. That is really nice. So again, here's a full-on desktop app. So take a look at this all you want. The source code is up there as well. Now let me show you one other thing here. Let me flip this really quick to change up where I run this. Let's go with an iPhone 16 Pro Max, same exact app, right? And this is the kind of stuff that you can do where you don't need to change up your code base. It's multi-targeted by default. Yes, your UI should probably change a little bit because you have a different surface area. And you will see us, like if you needed to get a little inspiration of how we do things between mobile and desktop, here's a wonderful view. This is a cold start of my simulator because I did not have it running, but you can see it. It'll come up in a second. And again, this runs on .NET 8, 9, .NET 10 in my case. I have the latest bits. So you get an iPhone 16 Pro simulator come up, and it's going to launch the same app, but it looks different because it's now on mobile, so it has full touch. Let's give it a second to come up here. Okay, here we go. So same list of UI controls that I showed you. This has everything, right? So again, take a look at this, see how the UI is different. Let's look at the collection view here for a second. These are all the features of the collection view. So you can see the grid layout, headers, footers, and so on. this grouping part is what I wanted to show you. So this one here is a collection view of, let's say, it looks like flights in here. So this is, boarding, checking, and sometimes as I start scrolling a little bit, you'll see that it is kind of pinning it. It's like sticking it to the top of my window. So, and then eventually it will move past to check in, and it'll move past to delay. Delayed. So it's a nice way of having some stickiness as you're scrolling through lots and lots of data. But otherwise, everything, your expand and collapse, everything is built in. So if you have a list of things to show, look no further. The collection view is super, super feature rich in terms of everything that you can, think of doing. All right, so that's MAUI in a nutshell. And again, take a look at the code here. It's all out there. This is essentially the RAD tree data grid that I was showing you. It's bound to a collection, and that collection has children elements to it. So it is full on like this folder model. This is an observable collection. And then if I go into that folder model, you're going to see like children. So it's very much like nested data, and it's very, very good at showing you all of that. So this is, again, what drives your business, right? Because you are building desktop apps that runs so much of your enterprise workflow. So what are we doing about it? So .NET MAUI, like Ed said, it's not just for mobile. We have a whole lot of customers, like yourself probably, who are building greenfield desktop apps. So maybe you have a WPF app or a WinUI or a UWP app, and now you want it to be running on Mac desktop. Go for it with .NET MAUI. There are ways to reuse most of it. Microsoft is starting to help with some upgrade assistants that are also AI enabled. So again, MAUI is great for desktop. It's catching up a little bit, like WPF and WinForms have so much of investments, but over the years. But desktop feature-wise and keyboard and mouse feature-wise, it's catching up quick. So let's look at WinUI. This is the latest UI and UX stack on Windows. Again, our journey on this one simply continues. We are up to 4.0 latest Windows, UI support with UWP and Win32, so it runs both ways. And this is as full-featured as you can think of. All types of design systems and design patterns are welcome. Accessibility is built in. Really heavy-hitting things like grids and charts and ribbons, all of that is built in. So if you want to build a really polished native Windows app, like look no further. WinUI is here to support you. Let's talk about WPF and WinForms. I like showing this slide here, Ed, because it shows our age, like how far we have come. But we started with .NET Framework back in the days. We have gone from .NET 6, which was kind of the bringing it over and making it clean and polished and modern and modular and cross-platform, all the way to .NET 7, 8, 9. We're at .NET 10 previews now, and every November we get a new preview. WPF is probably 16, 18 years old. WinForms is about 20 years old. How many technologies can say that they have lasted this long? They usually have a short shelf life, but here we are. You can see our WPF and our WinForms UI running on the latest .NET 10 previews, which is amazing because, think about the shelf life of your investments and your expertise that just carries over very nicely. So let's talk about WPF, Windows Presentation Foundation. Lots and lots. This is probably two of our richest UI suites. 150 plus UI components in it. A lot of you love using maps, so a robust, powerful mapping solution is what you need. You have complete flexibility over which mapping provider you use. Some of the new things we are doing, especially if you're using Azure Map Provider, is supporting different languages, so you can customize and you can localize your mapping experience, and you can choose which version of the Azure Maps that you want to use. Again, if you have global apps, you want that precise data rendering, this is great for you. Moving on to spreadsheet updates. So this is a spreadsheet UI. So again, imagine having to render a spreadsheet within your app, and you don't want the users to switch context. You want the full spreadsheet experience. Now we have a nice little thing where either programmatically or as a user with a command, you can select the current region. So you don't have to click and drag. It can look into everything around your selected cell. As long as you find the non-empty one, it'll keep on going. So it's really good for that quick selection and then streamlining your batching of tasks that you want to apply to every selected row. So again, very, very mature UI suite here. Grid view, it's probably, again, what most of you use in your WPF apps. We did some enhancements. If you are letting the user manipulate the rows and adding new features, like in your CRUD applications, then the grid view new row can now be completely customized. So you can see the add new product there at the bottom. You can say whatever text you want. It's also template driven, so it doesn't need to be text. It can be images or anything else that you want. So it improves the the clarity of the UX that your users are experiencing. So much more flexibility as the user types in or adds new rows. WinForms, this is again going strong. Again, if you are on WinForms, you are perfectly fine staying on .NET Framework. But if you're open to upgrading the runtime, then you get to benefit from all of the .NET performance enhancements that have happened. And .NET 10 is again just doubling down on it. So the RAD map solution again is a very, very powerful mapping UI. Now, we have heard this loud and clear that a lot of you have some compliance needs. Maybe you're using a mapping provider, you want different languages, different types of copyright protection that you want to have. So there's a label now that where you can stick in whatever you want, and you can customize where it shows up. So it's great for displaying those licensing requirements, source attribution requirements. So it's good for trust and making sure your end users are protected. Lot more on accessibility front here. If we have UI automation, so if you're using screen readers, if you're using assistive technologies, like lots of the UI components like text boxes, masked edit boxes, spin editor, they will all do a very good job with UI automation. If you are tabbing through and reading out your UI, screen readers or other assistive means, they all will help you out. And take a look at this .NET 10 Preview 4. So WinForms, started in 2002, works in 2025 on the latest .NET runtime. So what's not to like about that? Ed talked about this, so I'm just going to go by this very quickly. We have document processing, and everything we do in here benefits every one of our UI libraries. So everything from .NET MAUI to WPF WinForms, all the way to all of the web UI, they all benefit from PDF processing, word processing, spread processing, and you can see the impact of AI in all of that. So you can do less of the heavy lifting, let AI summarize things for you, let AI figure out more of the documents. So it's kind of everywhere. So again, we are not going to show you this, but this is something we did last release, Smart AI Components. It's still out there. Again, think about your document processing workflows and your other things like rich text box, which are AI enabled, smart copy and paste. As you start typing, we can recommend things within your rich text box or your spreadsheet. The semantic search thing, this is something that is really handy. So think about vector searches. When you display lots and lots of records, you don't need to find that exact match. We can do a vector search based on wherever you're bringing your data from, Entity Framework, SQL Server, you name it. It's powered by local embedding. So all of that UI is out there for you to experiment with. Okay, so let's take a look at this really quick here. I am actually going to really quickly go into remote into my Windows box, which is sitting under my desk here. So real quick here. So let's look at WPF. So this is again 160 plus UI. Take a look at that. Like how many UI suites can say that? Because it's years and years of evolution. Make sure you're looking at the latest one. This is 2025 Q2. So let's look at what's new. Everything is again marked with new and labeled. Let's see what I want to show you. The map UI. This is the one where I was talking about the Azure map provider. So this is the one that lets you select your zooming levels, select your language of preference, API levels. So again, very, very customizable if you have global audiences and you want to choose different versions of your mapping provider. More on the interactivity side, let's see if I can show you something really quick. Most of it is covered. Data management, there are always things we are adding to the grid, and we talked through some of the accessibility needs. That's all in there as well. So again, you get an idea. Again, all of the source code. What I really like about these desktop apps is we show you the code right here. So again, you don't need to go look at GitHub or any other place. And once you're on a piece of UI, you can select which example XAML or CS that you want to look at. We show you the documentation right here as well, and you can see all of the other stuff that that particular UI does as well. So a wonderful way to just install this and play around. It's part of the installer, so a great way to just look around. Let's take a look at WinForms really quick. Again, I'm just only showing you the sample apps because we are always pressed for time for this webinar, so I'm not doing justice to the teams, but this is where you can just look at the newest things in here. So this one here, if I go into the map providers, this one here is, again, showing you different languages. Again, you can switch up which themes, which styles you want to use. And this is the copyright thing, which is down here at the bottom. So I can switch this up to be in the center. you can choose whatever you want to render in that. Again, good for your compliance or any other, contractual requirements you might have, because you can switch up and use whichever mapping provider. And again, think about, all of the flexibility. Like this is with, staging. Think about like airplane maps. So it is very, very flexible in terms of which type of mapping provider and what type of data you want to chart and provide. All right, and then one last thing here would be, let's see, WinUI. Again, this is going strong. It's up to 4.0. Again, very, very rich UI. So when all the web folks like Ed show you all the flashy web things, take a look at how beautiful a desktop app can be. Look at the styles and the themes and how quickly it switches themes and how seamless the rendering is between dark mode, light mode, and the default modes, and how it can be compact. So you can have these things kind of pinned to different dashboards and running on multiple monitors all day long. Desktop runs your businesses, so what's not to like? Thank you so much again for taking your precious time. Hope you all have a wonderful summer, or wherever you live on the world. What's next for you? Maybe winter if you're in the southern hemispheres, but we hope you have a great rest of your year. And this was just our Q2 release. We'll come back and talk to you again during our Q4 release. And that's it from us this time around.